I took delivery of an off-grid trailer 2023 Expedition 2.0 back in March of this year. So here is what the off-grid trailer looked like on delivery back in March. And since then, I've taken it through quite a few changes. In fact, I've spent probably most of my weekends between March and December doing these modifications. And so here is the result of what it looks like today. Let me give you a walkthrough. I put this 23-0 wet bag on the front, keep a lot of emergency roadside gear in there so that if we need, we can grab those in an emergency situation. And then here I purchased a High Lift Extreme. This is a 48-inch jack, and purchased mounting brackets, these metal security screws, and a variety of other accessories for it. And I put this 40-inch light bar on here, created a custom mount out of various parts to get that on there. And then I've put blink security cameras all the way around. I've put them on these small rig magic arms that give a lot of flexibility, plus good security. Those can be tightened down with tools that make it really difficult to steal. And then I've got two of these Ironman 4x4 216 liter trunks, waterproof trunks here on top. That's really just a perfect fit for this spot up here. I went through the effort of putting this vinyl, they call it an indestructible vinyl. It's really a rock chip, a protectant barrier. I put this on all of the front. This stuff is amazing. I got this on Amazon, as I did most other things here. And it's adhesive backed, and so it's really easy to apply and work with, forgiving. I absolutely love this stuff. I've gone through a bunch of rolls of this, and I gotta say, if you want to provide good protection on a surface, a flat surface particularly, this stuff is amazing to work with and quite affordable. I started out by putting it on all of the front facing surfaces to deal with bug splats and such, but I so enjoyed working with it. I like the looks of it. Got feedback from a lot of my friends and just continued to apply it until I've got the whole surface applied with that. I tried a variety of other kinds of vinyl, but I just found that it wasn't durable enough for my needs. The factory vinyl that came here tended to get scratched. And this is our surface area where we do a lot of cooking. This is the kitchen area here. And if utensils were to hit the factory vinyl, it just created tears and marks on it. So I gotta say, I'm super pleased with the looks of it, the robustness. It's no longer a fingerprint magnet. And this stuff is really durable and has not let me down in any of the applications I've used it for yet. I've done a lot of improvising to make all this work. I got 4 of these really thick steel brackets that are actually designed to tie down Harley-Davidson motorcycles to trailers. Super strong. Got 4 of those on Amazon. And then I use these as anchor points here. So I've got a ratcheting strap here that holds us down to the trailer. And then I've got these steel wire reinforced straps here that are lockable, holding this down. So 4 of these, 2 on each side for good security. And I really like the results of it. This unit here, I'm able to put padlocks on it, some rubber coated padlocks. And I'm really pleased with this. I got this on a Black Friday special, both of these for $300 with free shipping, and just couldn't beat that price anywhere. And then in addition to applying this material on all of the doors, I also purchased these really tactical, industrial, strong aluminum molly panels here. I got these from Built Right Industries. I really like them. So I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I put 8 of these on the vehicle. Started with just 2, and so like the experience that I've now put these on all of the doors. Used a metal and neoprene fused washer to ensure that these are waterproof, all of the holes here. Then I got this 20-liter gas can here and a lockable carry case, one on each side, so that gives us 40 liters of extra fuel. And I designed the whole system to be as flexible as possible. In the event that my tongue weight exceeds the manufacturer's recommendation on my vehicle, 500 pounds tongue weight, then I can move some of these things around. We typically go with these empty, but in the event that we're going someplace way out in the middle of nowhere, we can fill these up. And if my tongue weight is too heavy, I can take these off and move them to the molly panels on the back to help counterbalance the load. So these work well. Got those on Amazon as well. And I bought 2 of these big fridge dry boxes and really liked them. And so I, first of all, mounted them up here on the front and back. Those are 175 liters, so they're not quite as big. The dimensions weren't an exact fit. And so I ended up taking those off, putting these up here, and these now go on the roof rack of my Toyota 4Runner. I wanted to toughen these up a bit, and so I painted them with a premium auto body primer and then sprayed them with several layers of Raptor truck bed liner. And I've gone through 16 liters of that, converted my garage, half of my garage here, into a paint booth. Went through an educational process, learned how to do that. And now that I have the skill down, I absolutely love this stuff. Very durable, rugged. This stuff will take a beating. So this stuff works really well on flat surfaces, very easy to apply and can come off if you need, but this does not work well with curved surfaces, and that's where these come in. This stuff works great, but it is messy and requires some skills. And I've also got a ladder up here that I've tied down with a ratchet strap so that I can get stuff in and out of these high trunks here. Got this on Amazon, super sturdy, very happy with it. Got one that would fold up and put here, but gives me 3 steps so that I can easily reach the contents of these when we're at the campsite. These doors, I had to disassemble them to be able to apply this. And once I had them disassembled, I discovered that even though the doors are 2 inches thick, there was only 1 inch of insulation in there. So I filled up all the empty space with some wool insulation, high quality wool that has really nice characteristics, and so it's much more robust now. These door latch mounts here came with Phillips screws, and I discovered that those were very simple to remove, and so someone with a Phillips screwdriver could simply take those out, so I replaced those with security screws. On the interior, I so liked working with that indestructible vinyl that I decided to purchase a roll of light gray to apply here. And the reason we did this is because on our first trip out, we had a soft side cooler here that was setting inside during the ride to our campsite. And when we got there, we discovered the zipper was swinging back and forth and scratched the white material all the way down to the bare metal. And so I wanted to toughen that up a bit. Naturally had to remove all this stuff off of the surface to do that. And I've done other modifications in the interior here. I went ahead and applied that same light gray onto the entire cabinetry here, including all the way up underneath there, and then applied the black stuff onto these doors. And I'm really happy with the results. It's nice. We're still in the process of organizing the interior here, but I really like working with this stuff. These things were a glossy metal, and so it left fingerprints everywhere. And also, if we moved in the night, we could sometimes hit these and make a loud pinging, ringing sound that would wake us up sometimes. So I wanted to deaden that sound a bit further. We got the television package whenever we purchased this, and it was right here, but it was really large. We felt like it was in the way, and it was just too big, and we didn't find ourselves using it very much. So I went ahead and purchased a default door here from the factory, got that installed, and we really liked the results. So then I mounted my iPad up here. We've got hundreds of movies downloaded onto that, so if we're off grid, then we can still watch movies. Mounted these Molly panels back here, and then these Molly bags, organizers, I also got from Built Right Industries. A lot of flexibility with those. And so we've got them mounted here on both sides. And so we have mounted medical kit and a variety of other things that we need access to. Got these fans, USB powered fans, on Amazon as well. I pulled out some cheese plates from my YouTube studio and mounted those there. Some magic arms. This gives us a lot of flexibility in the movement, the location of those. We mounted 6 of these lights so that we have lighting on all of the levels here. And these are dimmable with hand motion. The rivets that came with it were silver and small, and when I drilled them out in order to put this on, I wasn't pleased with the quality, and so I ordered some industrial strength and size ones with color matching gray and put those on all of these spots here. We move our Zero Breeze Mark II battery powered air conditioner into here. That's currently in the back of my 4Runner. We've got a blink hub for our security cameras. We can look at our cameras from inside here if we're hearing sounds at night, trying to figure out if it's a raccoon or a bear or what have you. We can watch the exterior cameras from there. Of course, we can also watch them if we're away from our campsite and have audio video interaction with anybody that approaches our campsite. So it gives us a lot of flexibility in how we use those. These step ladders work really well, fold up small. These fender wells had a thin protective coating on them, but I just wasn't pleased with the durability of these. So I went ahead and took these 2 pieces off on both sides and hung them up and sprayed them with truck bed liner. And these provide a lot of protection. Took off the hubcap dust covers and sprayed those with truck bed liner as well. Have another security camera here. We have them on all 4 sides. I wasn't satisfied with the aerodynamics of the air conditioning system inside, and so I invented this device here. This is the air intake, and this is the exhaust, and it just wasn't pulling out the exhausted air well enough, and so it wasn't cooling the interior well. So I purchased this on Amazon. It's a 3 to 4 inch elbow reducer made of silicone. It's designed for race cars, but I repurposed it for my needs here. And then this blower motor is for growing plants, and it's designed for indoors. So I went ahead and sprayed it with several coats of rubber initially to make it waterproof. And then I went ahead and sprayed it with truck bed liner so that it matches and it's gonna be quite durable. I didn't want to drill holes in the side of the trailer because I thought at some point I may want to take this off, particularly if I mount an air conditioner on the roof. So what I did is, instead of drilling holes, I used the 4 screws here that are holding these 400-pound step ladders to get to the roof and shelves. I basically pulled those 4 screws out. I got this 1/4-inch aluminum plate here, and then I mounted these through those 4 holes to hold that in place. And then I mounted the motor bracket here flush on the other side, so there's actually no holes in the side to hold this in place. It gives me a lot of flexibility for changing this configuration in the future, and that works well. I'm pleased with the results. I'd say it makes it about 33% cooler anecdotally, and it now allows that Zero Breeze Mark II to cool the place quite nicely. I also mounted the same MOLLE panels over here, and then I created a mount. Couldn't quite find mounts that worked well for my needs, so I just kind of invented my own here with a variety of components that I bought on Amazon. And then that gives good spacing there. I went ahead and sprayed all 4 of these, 2 on each side, with Raptor truck bed liner 2. I know I've gone overboard, but I really like this stuff. I like the looks of it and the durability it provides for unknown situations in the future. I bought this specific one because there's an indentation in these here that is designed to hold this base plate of this hijack. So if I need better stability, I can take 1 or more of these recovery boards and set it right here on the ground. If I'm on uneven ground, it gives me a good foundation for holding that jack in place. I tried to, as I was designing improvements for the trailer, to have things serve multiple purposes. And I had to do a cutaway of this MOLLE panel to accommodate the handle here. Here's our sink and stove and shelves and towel rack and such. This here will give you an idea of what that metal and neoprene infused, what those washers look like. Provide waterproof barrier. That works well. I went ahead and purchased a fire extinguisher and a high quality, robust mount here. These are often used on fire engines. Went ahead and put some security cabling in there so those don't run off when we're in transit, going from our house to some campsite. Went ahead and bought an extra 13-pound propane tank and an extra mounting bracket from the manufacturer. This came bare aluminum. Wasn't really happy with the looks of it, so I went ahead and sprayed this one and the one on the other side with Raptor truck bed liner. Put this protective sheathing around here. Have a lockdown point here. Got this tote tank for our runoff for our shower water and such, gray water, not black. And went ahead and sprayed it with truck bed liner 2, and the hook here hooks onto the back of these MOLLE panels here. These are the ones that I mentioned. If the fuel there creates too much tongue weight, pushes us over manufacturer's recommendation, then I can move those back here past this fulcrum point of the axle and counterbalance that extra tongue weight. Went ahead and put some really large ones here to have a nice surface area. And so this tote tank here will just clip on here. And then I have a carabiner that holds it in place to prevent it from bouncing off. Have another security camera back here. I installed this 53-inch light bar back here on back and added this amber film to it to help cut down on mosquitoes. Added this wireless backup camera here that works really well. The monitor is in my 4Runner, provides great coverage. I had to custom make some brackets to mount that, and so I wanted to use these 4 screws that were holding this roof rack in place. And so what I did is I created some custom mounts, used some custom brackets, sprayed those with truck bed liner, and that setup is working really well for me. You'll also see that these roof rack bars up here are coated in truck bed liner too. Those came as raw aluminum. Wasn't crazy about the look, and this provides some good robustness. I'm going to be adding around 1,000 to 1,200 watt solar panels next year up on top of there. So I'm pleased with this. I was also pleased that the added weight here, I thought I was gonna have to replace these struts here in the back, but lo and behold, these factory struts are designed to hold that extra weight. So that works nicely. And then besides this tote tank hanging back here, I've got several other things that can go into place. And so my strategy is to counterbalance things as needed to get the right tongue weight. As I mentioned, I try to put everything on the trailer to serve at least 2 functions. And so I bought this swing bracket here. It's actually a porch swing with a 5,000 pound weight capacity on it. And so the first function of this is for hammocks, a hammock hanger. And so we can hang our hammocks off of this. And then I have some grab handles on my 4Runner. So if there are no trees in our campsite, then we can go from here to my 4Runner roof rack. But obviously we can go from here to trees and such. Naturally, there's not a lot of strength in this area. This aluminum here is only 1/8 of an inch thick, so it wasn't enough to support everything I wanted to do with this. So I took on an arduous task of creating some steel reinforcement bars that go on the other side of this here. In total, I've got 1/2 inch of steel thickness back there with 2 different kinds of steel, a medium strength steel that's 3/8 of an inch thick, and then 1/8 of an inch of a 5160 high carbon steel that's so strong it wore out a bunch of my carbide tip drill bits and blades in the process. And then I put some really strong adhesive to adhere those to each other, and then put these 3/8 inch hardened steel bolts in here to help hold that in place and to distribute the weight load across the whole back of the exterior here. And then the second purpose for these is I added this cargo rack here on back. Number one, because we didn't have quite enough storage. We've gone on a variety of trips and we found that really these 2 on the front and back, and then those 2 are exactly what we need to bring everything from our 3-day weekend camping to 2-week camping. Gives us everything we need. And so we keep these fully loaded, ready to go. So if there's a hurricane here in the Houston area, we are ready to roll out of here in half an hour or less. We've got everything that we might need for a 2 to 3 week stay loaded up and ready to go. So in order to support the added weight here, I needed to counterbalance basically some of the limitations of this towing hitch here on the back of the trailer. It's not designed to handle a lot of weight, and so this was pretty much the weak link in my system. So I wanted to deal with the weak link here by basically compensating that, taking some of the gravity load off. I then have this riser lower, so I've got an extender and a riser lower here. This is the same one with an 18,000 pound towing capacity. I got it on Amazon, really like this. This is the one I use on the back of my 4Runner, so I wanted a backup. So basically I have one on the back of my 4Runner and this one back here. In the event of some malfunction or theft, I'll have a backup that I can use. I discovered that whenever I put this here, that these are the brake lights and turn signals, and so they were blocked. So I basically bought the components off Amazon that I needed to build my own brake lights and turning signals here, and then hook those in with the factory wiring system that they use. That is a high quality waterproof system. So I follow the manufacturer's wiring in my wiring of these, and I'm quite happy with the results. So these 2-inch ratcheting straps are what I designed to carry most of the extra weight, get some of the weight off of that low capacity hitch back there. But the problem with straps of this nature being out in the wind is these tend to act as a foil. They think they're an airplane wing, and at highway speeds they want to take off, and so they tend to be constantly vibrating, and that can create structural fatigue, basically fatigue cracks over time that can weaken several of the critical points here. So in order to compensate for that, I took this recovery rope. It's a 48,000 pound recovery rope, 1 inch thick. And obviously I don't need that strength here. There's plenty of strength in these cables, but I wanted to be able to break up that, the Bernoulli effect that causes a foil like this to want to try to be aerodynamic and take off. So I basically put this on here and then put these, I really like these Velcro straps. Also got these on Amazon, work really well. So I bind those together. That cancels out the Bernoulli effect so that these don't want to take off, and keeps all of my critical points from getting weakened over time. But naturally, if we're in a situation where we need to be recovered or need to pull somebody else out of a situation, I can detach that simply by loosening these wing nuts here. I haven't tightened down super well to prevent theft with a wrench, but I can take those off, and then we can do some recovery with them and then put them back on if needed. 5,000 pound weight capacity on this, 5,000 pound carabiners, 5,000 pound winch D-ring here from Wren, and then I think 8 to 10,000 and then 48,000 pounds. So that's obviously way over-engineered. I tend to over-engineer some things because I have found that over the years I tend to use things for purposes I never intended when I designed something. So just in case, I try to design those to take anything that might arise in the future. I've loaded this with a lot of our heavier stuff, so this helps me get the right ton weight up front. These are sheets of mass-loaded vinyl. I tend to use these in my studio and recording studio, and these are super heavy and provide some cushioning effect. And then I've got another of these Rhino 2-inch ratcheting straps holding this down to the cargo rack. This cargo rack's no longer for sale on Amazon. I thought it was the best one by far. This thing will hold, I think, between 600 and 800 pounds. Just been a beast. I put it through a bunch and it has never given me a hiccup. And then more steel wire reinforced locking straps here, and I've applied that same material to give plenty of security. I also use double locking carabiners, so in the event somebody wants to steal this while I'm sitting in a parking lot or a restaurant or something, traveling to our destination site, by the time they get everything figured out, I will be there to greet them with other resources to discourage them from stealing the stuff. I initially had difficulty matching the level of tension on this recovery rope to the ratcheting straps. So to deal with that, what I did is I purchased this 14-inch mooring cleat on Amazon, designed to moor boats to docks. Put some 3/8-inch hardened steel bolts, nuts, and locking washers on there, sprayed it with several layers of wrapped truck bed liner. And then now that gives me the ability to take up any of the excess slack that I need to get the right level of tension so that by the time it comes up over here, it matches the same level of tension. And so that solution has worked out well for me. I got these D-ring clips here from Rhino, and this works out really well. I was able to get this in here, these rubber washers in between to protect the metal. That goes over here. So a lot of improvising, picking components that needed to serve a task other than that for which they were designed. But I enjoy that process, going on a quest and finding the best thing, putting it in place. So those have worked well. And so altogether, that gives me a lot of towing capacity there, because what I wanted to be able to do is, in the event of a wide variety of emergencies, including hurricanes here in the Houston area, but others, I can load up power generators here on the back and know that this thing is designed to hold several thousand pounds. That gives me a lot of flexibility. I can stack these up on top of each other and they work really well. So it gives us a lot of ability to expand in the future. I also wanted to address the water capacity issue. We have a tank here that holds 31 gallons of water. You can see a little line there in the back. That's a little transparent line so that we can see the water level of how much is left in that water tank. But 31 gallons is one factor that continued to limit our duration of stay. And so I found these 50-liter water tanks on Ironman 4x4, and I bought 2 of those, 2 50-liter tanks for a total of 100 liters, or around 27 gallons. So that just about doubles our capacity. Full, this weighs about 250 pounds. So I didn't want the weight of those tanks sitting on the roof. So I put these, also Rhino, I think these are 1.5 inch ratchet straps on here. So I ratcheted these tanks up off the roof and suspended onto these roof rack bars. These originally came in raw aluminum. Wanted to toughen those up, and so I sprayed those with truck bed liner as well. Got these carabiners in place. So this whole system, I designed it to give us a lot more capacity and yet not risk damaging the roof. And so you see I've got 2 fill points there, and then over on the back, I put 10-foot drain lines with a shutoff valve so that both tanks have a 10-foot hose. This gives us the ability to drain those tanks back here into our main tank. Not sure if you can see that. That's our main tank entry point. But that gives us the ability to drain those 27 gallons of water into this, or we can use them independently. So that gives us a lot more water capacity. It gets direct sunlight right now, which could be used to heat water, such as for a shower. Of course, our shower is here, and we have heated water through our hot water system in here. But it gives us more flexibility. Next year, we're gonna be putting solar panels up on top so that we'll actually shade those tanks. So that's going to help increase our stay times at a variety of camping situations. Over on this side, we have the same propane tank. This is the primary propane tank here. Went ahead and sprayed the mounting bracket in truck bed liner as well. Put on this protective layer here so someone doesn't bend over and hit their forehead on the raw steel. Sprayed an assortment of other items here with these. 2 more recovery boards. We have a security camera over here, lighting up, and another fuel tank. I really like these thick aluminum industrial moly panels from Built Right Industries. So I've got 8 of these on the trailer. It gives a lot of expansion capabilities where we can reconfigure the whole unit for various types of conditions and scenarios. So we really like that. In the process of needing to increase the size of these for these larger, I wanted to put larger hardened steel bolts through here to hold much heavier weight, and so I used increased sizes. I made a couple of scratches. I decided to go ahead and spray both of these with truck bed liner and toughen them up. They come with a protective layer, but I think that this adds an extra layer there that services our needs quite nicely. Naturally, whenever I was drilling holes in the exterior, I was careful to take care of potential water entry points. So in the case of these, I would drill out the hole for the appropriate device, and on these I used either plus nuts or rivet nuts. I used to use jack nuts, but they're not strong enough for this type of application. So I used both plus nuts and rivet nuts for these applications, and so I filled the cavity with 100% silicon, put in the rivet nut or the plus nut, got those fully engaged, applied, and then filled the center point with silicon again and added the bolts. So that system works really well. If you're not familiar, this is what the plus nuts look like. Whenever they're fully engaged, it creates a plus shape here with these 4 flanges. But plus nuts are harder to find, so I tend to use rivet nuts more. Rivet nuts don't grab as much of the area, but it does grab the entire circumference of the hole, whereas the plus nuts have more overlap, but they don't grab the entire surface. So, and I've unfortunately discovered that some people will call plus nuts rivet nuts or vice versa. Most of the time, everything's called a rivet nut, even though they may be a plus nut, so it can be confusing. A rivet nut applicator has a shorter thread. Of course, I got these all on Amazon, and you can swap out the size that you need for the bolt. The plus nut is longer because the plus nuts have a longer shaft before you get to the threads. But I tend to use the rivet nut simply because it's easier to get varying sizes. And you compare that to like a pop rivet gun that's much smaller and simpler, but these naturally provide for a greater strength capacity. I've found some good sources on Amazon for rivet nuts, some strong ones. I have found some that weren't quite as good, but these are really robust. So that gives me the ability to drill into the exterior, but provide plenty of water protection. So I'm super pleased with the results. It's been a lot of work, but very enjoyable learning process, figuring everything out, inventing some things along the way, solving problems in some unique ways. Let me know what you think. If you have questions about any of the products that I've purchased or the processes I used to do the modifications, let me know in the comment section below. I'll answer each and every one of those for you. Have more ideas for the future, but primarily next year, I'm going to be installing solar panels. I may be replacing this Max fan with a large air conditioner. I'm going to be upgrading the factory lead acid batteries with lithium iron phosphate ones, and upgrading some of the electronics such as the solar controller and a few other items so that it can handle the additional capacity that I'm designing into it. Very much an enjoyable process. It's been a lot of work, but I'm really glad that it's come to an end, working on some other projects here in the near future, but this has been most enjoyable. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, remember, spread the love.